We did it, guys! We actually did it. This is the Dark Magician list that went undefeated at locals, winning it all 4-0. What's up YouTube, Dow here from Ceph War Games, and today, as you can see, I am bringing you my undefeated first place Dark Magician profile, and I will bring you a tournament report. So as you can see, I'm going to show you the full deck list in front of you. I will take you through each individual card. I will then also take you through the extra deck and the side deck. Before we do get started, let's crack on with the matchup. So round one was Invoked Eldritch, and I actually had to produce a spicy boss monster in the extra deck in order to win that one. Round two, I was up against Dark Lord Despia, and I was actually really shocked with how good their first turn board was, which you saw in the duel yesterday. Then my third round was Mystic Mind Burn, and in any of my other decks I probably would be a little bit scared, but in this one, because of the power of Circle, I was able to deal with that with no problem. The final round was against Tri-Brigade, and again, that one really made me work for it. I thought I was going to lose it. Game 2, he opened up Imperial Order, locked down my entire hand of spells. I had to scoop it up, and then luckily, in Game 3, he had evenly matched with a Cosmic Cyclone, and I was able to open up a Lancia. So I pretty much stopped the play there. So that was pretty much all my matchups. I ended up winning the first match against Invoked Eldritch 2-0. The Dogmatica Dark Lord was 2-0, the Mystic Mind again was 2-0, and then the Tri-Brigade was 2-1. I think the Invoke might have been 2-1 actually as well. But regardless, let me take you through the list and explain what we've got as we do. So, the most modernised competitive Dark Magician decks are only rocking 2 Dark Magician. Purely for the pace of the game, that you need to minimise your bricks. Your core starters are, of course, your Rod and the Souls. So you want to minimise them the most. And, of course, the one Red Eyes Black Dragon. We've then got Triple Rod and Triple Souls. These are your main go-to pieces for the Dark Magician engine, for the Dark Magician cards as well. We've got the one Dark Magician Girl purely because when you do open up your combo of Rod and Souls, that gives you a draw 2 at the base minimum and nearly a draw 4 depending on where you want to go with a Dragoon as well. But Dark Magician Girl didn't really show her face too much apart from being an allure target once or twice. Then for the Dogmatica package, this is Mac Daddy. Now, the reason this works so well is if you get your first play stopped, which is going to Dragoon, you can fall back onto this. Now, I made a bit of a mistake because I actually rushed the deck this morning and forgot to pick up my side cards and forgot to pick up the rest of my extra deck, so I didn't actually have a construct. So I will explain that as we go. Now with this is the base minimum I think you need. You've got Philidius for the negate, you've got Ecclesia for a free special summon, and then you've got Maximus to set you up your Winder plays, because ideally Dragoon backed up by a Winder is near on unbreakable, it's so hard to deal with, and that's why you max out on the triple Nadir Servant. Now yes, there is a massive clash between going into the Verte Dragoon combo and using a Dogmatica combo, but there is another card in the extra deck that I played, and the idea was that I would use the Dark Magician Rod and Souls to set up draw power and back row to get me into the Nadir Servant play. Play Nadir Servant, bring down Ecclesia. Ecclesia would set me up a Winder play, and then through a card that I send off of the back of Maximus, not only is my board Ecclesia with the ability of a Philidius negate and a Maximus on board already, not to mention these two, whether they be used as extra deck monsters or not. But off the back of that, I'm then searching Red Eyes Fusion so that during the start of my next turn, I just go, cool, already got my board built, don't need to run into Nibiru or anything. I've only got one special summon with Winder, Red Eyes Fusion, and unless your opponent has Ash, then you don't really need to worry. So, and even then, you still have the ability to play through because Philidius will be 3k, Ecclesia will be 2k, Maximus will be 2k, and Maximus can send more. So obviously triple Nadir Servant, triple Soul Servant, and double Circle. Again, this ratio is pretty much standard right now. I wouldn't cut Circle to 1. There are a couple of times where this actually becomes really important, and it put in a lot of work today, so 2 I'm more than happy with. Talents is my card of the format. Like, this card is seeing play in all of my decks right now, purely for the fact that you know your opponent is going to hand trap you. Now, you can go one or two ways. You can literally just go, you know what, I don't care, I'm going to play through anything you send me, or I might lose if I get that hand trap specifically, and that's where this comes in. Because you've got a backup engine of the Dogmaticas, and of course obviously the normal standard Rod and Souls play, should your opponent stop any of your starters, you then have the ability to activate this to go into your backups, and that's where you get to go. The True Name was a last minute addition to the deck. There were 5 cards in this that I wasn't normally playing, and that's the 2 True Name, the Magician's Combination, and the 2 Allures. And ultimately, I forgot my Ash Blossoms, so I kind of had to put these in last minute. But True Name put in a bit of work today. I resolved it like twice when I could have got a God to go Verte Dragoon, and then really annoyingly, I didn't have that. But ultimately, it was still really good because I was able to stack my deck with either Soul Servant or Circles, and then add it to the hand. Allure also put in a lot of work. You'll even see in the duel that I did a blind Allure, and it actually helped me out because I did a blind Allure and actually sent a Soul Servant, which was beautiful because it helped me get additional draws. Magician's Salvation, I love this card. You don't need this at more than 1. You really don't. It's so good. It's like my go-to now off of Rod. That my normal summon Rod gets me the Salvation, because then Salvation ultimately deck thins and sets up Eternal Soul. Now, if I don't have a Dark Magician engraved, but I do have the ability for Souls, which you should be getting a Dark Magician engraved if you've got Souls, that's a draw too, because you don't want to use the second effect of this to revive Dark Magician Gale. There's just no need. Get rid of it, draw a card. Get rid of Eternal Soul, draw a card. You then have the ability, which is why I was playing Inheritance, to get to the second Eternal Soul, and you're set up good to go. Speaking of which, Inheritance, I'm probably going to cut. It was a card that I really, really liked, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to burn through Nadir's Servants, I'm going to burn through stuff like True Names, Allures, Triple Tactical Talents, maybe even the Sky Striker engine. Never came up, so can completely be cut. Magicalized Fusion, one of the MVPs of the deck. So good. And the reason this is so good is because whether you get Red Eyes Fusion or whether you get Magicalized Fusion, you search these off of Predaplant, spoiler, Chimera Flesia, that you send off of Maximus, and that then gives you the plays to go for any of your fusion monsters should you need to. Called by the Grave is Called by the Grave. Red Eyes Fusion. The amount of times I saw this in my opening hand was unreal, but it actually put in a lot of work. Luckily, my opponent didn't have Ash Blossoms, and I was able to just go twice, Red Eyes Fusion, set up my Dragoon, and then I could fall back and sit on stuff like Schisms. You can still activate Nadirs under Red Eyes Fusion, so this can put the App Clone in the graveyard. App Clone can give you the Schism. You're already going to have a Dark monster in the form of Red Eyes and Dark Magician, so you're already good to go. And that combo alone, Red Eyes Fusion with Nadir's Servant, completely breaks your opponent. They can't do anything. And then obviously if you end up setting up yourself with a punishment as well, bonus. Sky Striker package, I saw this once today, and the card I saw once was Drones. This is a 1-card Dragoon, so what you do is you go Drones into Kagari, add back Drones, activate Drones, turn Kagari into Kana, Drones into Link Spider, and then those two are now effect monsters that can go into Verte, and then you can continue to make your plays without even conducting your normal summon. Never saw these two, but there was a time where, you know, I actually really like this engine. I used to hate it, but I don't mind it now because we've got multiple ways of getting rid of them should they become dead. Stuff like Dragoon, stuff like Souls, it's not the end of the world. Double Eternal Soul, like I said, you want one for your search or your set technically off of the Salvation, and then you want the other one to be, so basically that one gets sent off of Souls, and then the other one you get to at a later point and pretty much control the game from there. It's still one of our weakest components, especially when we're playing stuff like Winder and we're playing stuff like Dogmaticas. If this does get nuked as it's face up, you will pretty much be falling back on quite a lot, but it never came up and that worked out perfectly for me. Schism, saw this in my hand way too many times without even searching it, but it does what it does. There, like I said, with the extra deck, I kind of made a mess up. By not being able to get multiple monsters to the graveyard, I was actually banishing the App Cologne to summon down the Maximus. And that's where I kind of went, oh crap, I can't get another Shadow monster because I only had one Winder and one App Cologne. So what I was then doing is I was using Maximus to send Titaniclad and send Chimera Flesia. Because then Chimera Flesia searched me out the Red Eyes Fusion, and the Titaniclad would special the Ecclesia or would search me out Philidius. So I then ultimately had a negate during my opponent's turn, and then I was ready to go with a Red Eyes Fusion should they not be able to set up a negate. Punishment, used it once, resolved it once, worked it once is all I needed. And then combination, never saw it, never needed it. It's definitely being cut 100%. So that's it for the main deck. Puts in a lot of work. I think I managed to get it to 42, just about. But there are a lot of cards that I consider cutting and kind of making it a little bit different. Now onto the extra deck, and you'll see like the mess up of the extra deck. But it turned out to work out really, really nicely for me. So, for the extra deck, we've got the 1 Dragoon. The 1 Quintet. So the last space I had in my extra deck, this was supposed to be Construct, or it could have been like a BLS Link or an Access Code or anything like that, like a IP Masquerena. Ultimately, last minute, I put Quintet in because I was like, you know what? If I go through the Yugioh package, that's already a couple of spellcasters in the grave. I've got Maximus, Ecclesia, Philidius that are going to be spellcasters. Dark Magician is going to be in there after my first turn combo. Souls, Rod, and Dark Magician Girl, so I can actually abuse this card a lot. And I had to make it during the Eldritch match. So I made Maximus. Maximus sent me 2 more spellcasters because I bricked a little bit and didn't get into my Dark Magician starters. So Maximus sent 2 spellcasters. I'd already got Ecclesia in the graveyard because it was destroyed by my opponent. So that was ultimately 3, 4 including the Maximus. And he negated the summon of the Rod. So the next turn, I'd already opened up Magical Eyes Fusion. I activated that, banished the 5, went into Quintet. Very situational, easily cut should you want to. And then, obviously, off of the Dogmatica package that you want to be sending, you got the one Natis, the one App Cologne, the one Chimera Flesia, MVP, I'll get to that in a minute, Titaniclad, and then the Winder. I only created the Winder lot once, which was really important because it was in the Tri-Brigade matchup. But ultimately, Chimera Flesia put in so much work. Because it's like, if you've already got your way into a Dragoon, so if you've already gone Red Eyes Fusion and then Nadir, you just go, right, cool, send Chimera Flesia, search whatever I need. Chimera Flesia during my opponent's standby phase, search me out Magical Eyes Fusion, so that should they clear my board off, I've got the backup of Quintet. Because if they clear this off, that's already a spellcaster in the grave. I've already got the search of Ecclesia off the back of Nadir's Servant, and it just allowed me to play a little bit more freely. But what I was actually doing more times than not was the exact same combo that I said, because there were a couple of times where I was like, right, I didn't have Construct. I would go, right, okay, Nadir's Servant, send the App Cologne, or the Chimera Flesia or anything like that. Send the App Cologne, banish the App Cologne for Maximus. Maximus send these 2, get myself a Philidius and get myself a Red Eyes Fusion. And then I knew if my opponent couldn't stop this the next turn, they were going to lose. And that's pretty much how it worked. For the Link monsters, we'll work backwards. So 4 was Access Code, Selene. Never saw them, never needed them, never used them. Dragoon is just too good. But the idea is that, including your Dogmaticas, if you do get to this, you link them into Selene. Selene brings one of them back as long as you've got 3 spells in the grave, and then go into Access Code, gain 3k, and you've at least got 1 pop. Not to mention, if you've ended up using the Sky Striker package, you're going to get 2 more pops as well. Verti Anaconda is Verti Anaconda. Link Spider for drones and sometimes Dark Magician. Artemis to put Rod into the graveyard, but also put a extra monster on the zone. So then what you do is you can then link this with Souls, go into something like Predaplant, and then you've got a monster in the graveyard for your Maximus, Ecclesia, whatever you need. Umduct, never used it, never saw it, never needed it, but it's always nice to have because you can turn Dark Magician into a dragon. The Sky Striker cards, obviously the one Kana and the one Kagari. Again, pretty straightforward and simple on those ones. They do their jobs. They're there when you need them. And like I said, I only did it once, and that's all I really needed. Keep in mind as well that Kana can actually win you in time, especially when you play so many spells. You can gain yourself more than 100 life points and really put your opponent in a bad situation. So now I'm going to show you the side deck. The side deck is a bit of a mess because, again, like I said, I left my side cards, like my main side cards of Ash Blossom and at home. All I had was my spare binder that I had on me. And in that binder, I got quite lucky. I had a couple of cards that were useful for me. So apologies for not being in the series. I didn't have enough sleeves on me. I messed up today big time. But we've got the one Nibiru, we've got the 2 Skullmeisters because that's all I had available to me. The one Harpy's Feather Duster, triple Lightning Storm because luckily they were in one of my other deck boxes. Double Lancia, would have liked that to be triple. Triple Gozen, and then lucky I got away with triple Imperm as well because I had found those in one of my other deck boxes. So I put in this quite a few times. I put Skullmeister in once. Lancia I put in twice. Lightning Storm and Duster went in pretty much all my games because I put it in against the Despias. I put it in against, obviously, Mystic Mind Burn. I put it in against Eldritch. And the only one it didn't go in against was the Tri-Brigade. But this went in against the Tri-Brigade, and every time I tried to activate it, he had a Cosmic for it, or he had the out to it, which was really annoying, because the way I felt was if I activated this, they can't go Shurag plus Appaloosa plus Dragon Lords. They couldn't then get the Karaz on the board to give you the double Dragon Lords, and it really limited their amount of plays. I would like to think that if I ever resolved this, I would have been in a good stead, but it never came up, never did. I was actually more worried. Like, I thought one of my friends going today was going to play Ignisters, and I was like, I know this really kills Ignisters, and if they bring out the big boss monster at 4k, I can't do anything with it unless Dragoon makes a negate first, and even then I have to crash the Dragoon into their towers in order to get out of it. So it was a lot of work, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to try and get Gozen, try and hope that I win game 1. I'll let them play their towers game 2, scoop, and then set up the Gozen. But I suppose with a deck like this, because you're playing so much back row, your opponent's naturally going to be maining in back row hate anyway. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. We did it. We got our locals on the modern side of 2022. So back after remote duels, we won our locals with Dark Magician Dogmatica. I loved it. I had a lot of fun with this. I only went to locals today expecting to have fun. I wasn't expecting to win. I thought it'd be tough competition. And it was. Eldritch Dogmatica is no joke. And then, of course, Eldritch Invoked is no joke. And then, of course, the Tri-Brigade matchup was an absolute nightmare. But was lucky enough to get out the end of it as it was. So yeah, I think game 1, ultimately I won the dice roll, locked him out under Winder. Game 2, he went full OTK, blew me out the water. And then game 3, I had free set, I had Rod, and I had Nadir's Servant Place searching me out the Red Ice Fusion. And he Cosmic Cycloned my... So he went Battle Phase, evenly matched. I chained Lancia. He then chained Cosmic Cyclone. He had 3 set cards to hit. He only went and hit the Gozen. I was like, right, cool, GG. But luckily, what he did was he normal summoned Cat, and I risked it and activated Punishment. And by doing so, what I was able to do is I also had Soul Servant. So I activated Soul Servant to stack my deck with Magician Souls, and I had Circle in play. So what I did was I had Rod on board, I had Maximus in my hand ready to go. So during my turn, even though I was locked out of the extra deck, Punishment put... I think I put Titaniclad. Yeah, I did. I put Titaniclad to the graveyard so that during the end phase, Titaniclad would trigger, special summon Ecclesia. Ecclesia searched me out Philidius. And then during my turn, I special summoned down Maximus. I had Ecclesia already going there. I used Magician Souls that I stacked to the top of the deck with Soul Servant. And then summoned out Dark Magician. So that my board was Dark Magician, Maximus, Ecclesia, and then Rod. So it was 3,000 there. Or was it Philidius? It might have been Philidius instead of Maximus. Regardless, I think it's 3,000 there, 5,500 there. He'd already taken 1,000 off a Cosmic, and then it was 16 there. So I think that was like, what, 3, 5, 6. So that's 7-2. And then obviously he took the 1,000 off a Cosmic. I was like, yeah, cool. And that was a really good matchup. Really good game as well. The Despia one, you'll see in the duel, like his end board was mad. Like his end board being the first of the Dark Lord, plus a Hope Harbinger, and he already gave me a monster. And the worst thing about it is I opened up Lightning Storm. I was like, yeah, cool, I'm not worried about this. I can clear his board off. And then he gave me a monster. I was like, right, I've got to get rid of this monster to do anything. So, anyway, I had a lot of fun. I love playing Dark Magician every single time I do pick it up. Like I said, there's 5 cards in the deck that I would not advise you to play. And that's 1. Well, definitely not play this. Definitely not play this. These are 2 definitely going out. And then it's up to you. I quite like the True Name put in work for me today, and so did Law of Darkness. So I kind of want to keep them in out of general loyalty of how well they did for me today. But yeah, these are like the 6 flex spots that I say you play around with. And definitely Construct is going into the extra deck. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Do like, comment, subscribe, share. Till next time, guys, as absolutely always, stay safe. And we did it! First place Dark Magician! Woohoo! Dark Magician best deck for at least a day! Stay safe, guys. Happy dueling.